It's okay.
Aloha, welcome to another Reef Talk. As you know, my name is Hiney, and I'm representing Malama Kai Foundation. Tonight I have a special guest in the house, Alyssa Garvin. She is our Deputy Executive Director, and we're going to be sharing about our Ridge to Reef program. Many of you have probably heard me talk about Ridge to Reef, and that's one of Malama Kai's large projects, but we're going to give you more in-depth details tonight, exactly what the program is, what it entails. And so I will go ahead and let Alyssa introduce the program.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. So I'm super excited to be here tonight to talk about our Ridge to Reef program. Our program is an integrated place-based learning experience for Hawaii Island keiki, and it's designed for the 5th to 8th graders, the middle school students. And it combines classroom sessions with field trips, guest speakers, stewardship projects, so that students build their scientific knowledge, outdoor skills, and a deep sense of connection and color from Hawaii's lands and waters.
Okay, and I just wanted to give you a description of these images. I believe that pictures do say 1,000 words many times over. In this top image, we have a group of students and teachers and kumus, and they're practicing a oli, or a welcoming protocol to a new place. It gives them a sense of place when they enter someplace new and grounds them with that location. And so every time we go in the field, we start with that. Deep breaths and usually a oli chant from either the kumu at that location or their school chant. And then at the bottom image, we have students getting muddy, working with punavais or underground freshwater springs. And they're literally cleaning mud and other debris out of these veins of a local ia or fish pond. It's called punavais. And so these students are having a huge impact. They're seeing the fresh water come in. And often when they're cleaning out at these punavais, the fish come up to the fresh water.
So a little bit of program history for you all. It started in 2008 as a Malama Kai Foundation program under the name Ocean Warriors for students in Kohala. And over the years, we've received funding from the Bay and Watershed Education and Training Program that's put on by NOAA. That program's been in existence for 20 years now, and Malama Kai Foundation has administered many awards over that period of time. I believe we're up to 9 or 10 these days. And over that amount of time, we've had over 2,000 students participate in this program, and they've shown real benefits from it. So here you have a couple students participating in activities out in the field and also in the classroom. So this program was born out of a need and purpose for students to get their hands dirty and get outside the classroom. These days with technology and various other factors that are impacting our youth, they're becoming more and more disconnected from our natural lands. And so there's a need for them to have those stewardship and place-based education opportunities. This also helps expose them to potential career opportunities and mentors in their community so that we can keep our scholars here in Hawaii doing good work to protect their lands. So our overarching program goals are to connect, educate, inspire, and empower our students. So we have a handful of schools that have participated over the past year. We have Waimea Middle School, Waikoloa Middle School, Innovations Public Charter School, and Hawaii Technology Academy. So Malama Kai Foundation provides various support to this program. We have our lovely MKF coordinators like Kater here. She coordinates for the Kona area. And Eileen, who couldn't be here tonight, who coordinates for the Kohala area. She is actually at one of our school ho'ike's, one of their final presentations for the year, up in Waimea. So she coordinates for Kohala. And then I run the behind the scenes things, including going after grants and managing them. So we're very lucky that we've been able to have grants and donations over the year that provide the funding for the field trips, including the transportation, which is usually a huge entry barrier to this kind of work, as well as supplies, the coordinator's time, and our cultural and guest speakers that we're able to bring into the classroom. So really, we provide administration, reporting, coordination support, and anything that we're able to do that the schools need. And the teachers have shared with us that that is a major help to them, being able to provide this quality of education to their students. So here you can see a few different pictures. We have students in the classroom engaging with each other. And over here on the right, we have some students planting native species with the seeds. And just people out in the community doing stewardship work. So we have a handful of goals and objectives for this program. We really strive to be a data-driven program. So our goals are that students and teachers improve the condition of their Ahupuaʻa, which we'll talk about in a minute, through their stewardship projects. So getting their hands dirty, getting out into the environment, and developing a connection in place to their place and Aina, their land, engaging them in the outdoors through their stewardship activities, improving their presentation and speaking skills. A lot of students don't have many opportunities to get up and really work on those skills, especially in a community setting or with peers outside of their normal classroom. And improving their environmental literacy amongst middle school and high school students, very important, that we give our kids a quality education out here. And we develop a stewardship ethic through learning about and developing a connection to their Aina, and really being able to communicate their actions at the end of the year in their projects is a huge goal for us. So the program design consists of three major components. We have the classroom lessons, the field studies, and then the stewardship projects at the end of the year that are more Keiki driven. They get to have their choice and put together their project on all that they've learned and found really important to them throughout the year. So you can see an example of some of the posters that students have put together here. And then you can also see up here, they're using an EnviroScape model, which simulates pollution and runoff in the watershed. So here we are spraying water, and you can put various spices and things and see how they runoff goes down into the watershed throughout and into the ocean. So I'll pass it back off to Kater to talk about the classroom lessons because she's in the classroom all the time.
All right. Thank you, Alyssa. So one of the great features of this program is that we come into the classrooms. As you may know or not know, teachers can be overwhelmed. We offer them curriculum. We come in and give in-class presentations and teach the students about impacts to watersheds. First off and foremost, what a watershed is, an Ahupuaʻa system in Hawaii, the importance of them, and then potential impacts that can happen to watersheds, what they can do about it. So we bring supplemental lessons into the classroom. We also can bring in guest speakers. We have the means to bring in cultural guest speakers or experts in certain fields. And we are basically teacher helpers, literally in the classroom. We get to come in and just like a wedding planner, we're field trip and watershed lesson planners for the teachers. So we have, in this image, we have a guest speaker coming in with a cocoa reef restoration. And then we have another guest speaker here. And one of the first things we do is we have the students become very familiar with what watershed or Ahupuaʻa name their classroom is located in and their home. And I'll talk about that in a moment. A little bit of background. What is a watershed? If you didn't know, a watershed is described as land that drains all of its water to a specific lake or river. And the thing about Hawaii is we have different looking watersheds than other places on the mainland. So when we talk about watersheds, we are also going to be talking about the Ahupuaʻa land division system. This is a map of the Big Island, and these are delineated watersheds. Notice something going on right here on this side of the Big Island. If you're familiar, that's a lot of different valleys and water features on that side. And then our area of study for this program is concentrated in West Hawaii schools. In the future, we would love to incorporate the east side of the island as well. And then to go along with what a watershed is, what is a ahupuaʻa? Maybe you are or aren't familiar with this term. It's basically a traditional Hawaiian land unit, usually extended from mountains to sea. And you can have many ahupuaʻa boundaries within one large watershed. They don't always overlap with the same delineation or boundaries. And it is a traditional means where people got their needs met and their resources from land to sea with a barter system. And so here's an image of a classic ahupuaʻa. This is pretty much the building blocks we start when we work with the students, teaching them from ridge to reef system, from the beginning about watersheds, ahupuaʻas, and then we get to take them to these places often. That's the goal, is to take them to different parts of the classic ahupuaʻa system, land boundary. So let's see. And we talk about why watersheds are important. I'm going to use this as an example. Here's some images of Lahaina recently, Lahaina previous, and Lahaina very previous. Before sugarcane and pineapple plantations, Lahaina was an incredible wetland and watershed area. There were islands and fish ponds where the ali'i resided, and they'd sail on their canoes. And it was a capital and seat of governance and power because of its lush abundance. And we all kind of know what happened. Fresh water began to be diverted, and that watershed health and vibrancy diminished. And of course, then we know what happened in Lahaina. So just to reiterate how important watersheds are to Hawaii.
So there's a lot of reasons why watersheds are important, but just to name a few, they recharge our water supply, they provide jobs, they protect the ocean for swimming and fishing by controlling erosion and runoff, also pollution, they reduce flooding, they provide habitat for many animals and plants that are culturally significant, which help keep Hawaiian traditions going. They serve as recreational and educational places for our communities, providing clean water and air, and really just reducing the effects of climate change that we're seeing out here today in the islands by absorbing carbon dioxide. So a major part of our program is the cultural and scientific integration. It's really important to us that we are integrating everything that is a part of the education framework here in Hawaii. I'm not going to say it, but Cater can.
Thank you. So again, I think I mentioned we bring in cultural experts. We also get to go in the field and meet these experts, and we use the Na Hopena A'o Ha framework and Aina-based education principles that Hawaii DOE schools use. So we keep all of our curriculum lessons are part of the standards that Hawaii DOE are already working with. And down here we have an image of students visiting Kohana Iki Canoe Garden. They are learning about native Ahupuaʻa. Incredible resource there. The students worked hard for a couple years removing invasive kiawe and fountain grass and clearing out ponds that these native Ahupuaʻa then came back to. And there they are clearing out this pickleweed, and the Ahupuaʻa come back once you take out that invasive weed. Who knew? Field studies is a huge portion of the program. We like to take our students to the ocean, midland, or kula portion of the Ahupuaʻa and Makai. learning about wet forest, dry forest, and the ocean and coastal ecosystems. When we're able to take these students to these places, we not only are showing them someplace they may have never been, but we're really giving them a chance to give back and to steward that location. And we practice kilo and observation skills, which this day and age, a lot of people don't take time to reflect. So one of the first things we do after we do our opening chant and we get them to a place is we have them use their eyes, their nose, their mouth, all the senses, their ears, and ask them what they hear, see, smell, or taste. And that's a practice that is called kilo. We work with water quality testing kits, scientific testing instruments. We have been working with coral fragments for restoration with organizations, biodiversity surveys, native tree planting, outplanting, invasive species removal, and marine debris and trash removal, just to name a few. These students within the Ridge to Reef program are being exposed to college level research and associates and partnerships. Do you want to take a?
Sure.
Oh, wrong one. Sorry.
All good. So the last major component of the program is the student stewardship projects and leadership development. So at the end of every year, they give their final outreach and presentation projects. Either they put together posters or presentations, and they share those with their peers in their school year Ho'ike. And then this year, we were actually lucky enough just on Tuesday to get all the schools together right here in this room to share with their peers about their learning experience over the year. And I heard from many people in the room that day that they learned something else from their peers, and even I learned something myself. So it was a really great experience to be had by all. But what we heard from the kids the most was that they were nervous. They all took it very seriously, and that they were relieved to have that experience, and it built their confidence for sure. So we have many, many partners who make all of this happen. So you can see quite a few up here, but there's been many over the years that aren't even mentioned on this slide. But they consist of our cultural and scientific experts that we bring into the classroom or that give presentations out in the field, stewardship partners, and anyone who's really just working behind the scenes to make this happen and put this education program on. And of course, we have to thank our funders. Over the years, I mentioned already, we've had the Noah Bay and Watershed Education and Training Grant. And also, Atherton Family Foundation has been a huge support for this program. And of course, the Malama Kai Foundation working in the background to put everything together. And donors like you who are watching today. So, here's some more pictures about our stewardship program in the field, and I'm going to pass them over to Kater so that she can explain a little bit more about what's going on in these photos.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. In this top photo on the left, we visited Kahaluu Kuaheva, which is above Kahaluu Beach Park and perfect tie-in to the Mauka section of that Ahupuaʻa. And the students work with native plants and removed invasive species out of the garden area or mala. Here they are working on the trail at Honokahau National Park. There was large surf this last winter, and that's just what fell into place that day, giving back to the community by clearing the trail. We didn't do that the whole time, but that was an activity, pulling invasive, as I mentioned, invasive species. Here's another Oli opening. And this is Waikoloa Dry Forest, another one of our partners, where they were learning about native trees and the dry forest climate. As I mentioned, they're exposed to scientific instruments, water quality instruments, and learning about water quality issues, non-point and point source pollution factors. These guys are, again, clearing out the mud to give Ahupuaʻa a nice pond, beach cleanup on the far right, or my far right, and then more fish pond cleanup. They love it, as you can see. They love being in the field, Um, interesting story. One of the teachers mentioned that it was kind of right around towards the end of COVID time, and she mentioned that there was a fire drill at school, and the kids had to be evacuated and go across the street to this big field. And at the end of the year, they were asked what was their favorite part of the school year, and the students literally felt like that was a field trip to go across to the field, and they were excited about that. So that really put in perspective that these kids needed to get out into nature after the craziness that went on during their generation's time, and just in general, just being taught online and inside classrooms more and more. So they love it. They love being out in the field, even if they whine and say it's hot or it's sticky or it's smelly, they do great. And they're using hand tools, so we have a lot of future life skills that are acquired during this time. Don't hurt yourself, use a hand tool, how to use this tool. And then mentioned was the ho'ike. And so each school at the end of the year then showcases their stewardship projects. The students are put in a group so they get to pick what project they really feel strongly about. And so each school has their private or ho'ike where community and family members can come. And then as Alyssa mentioned, just this last Tuesday, we had an all-school symposium right here. Thank you, Terraformation and ASU, for the incredible space. It was a classic science fair like many of us grew up with that seemed to have disappeared from the educational platform. And here's some images. We had a poster session and we had presentations. And I'll let Alyssa, I can talk about it, measurable results. So just like any other research or programs, we want to have measurable results. What kind of impact are we having? We have a third-party evaluator that gives back feedback about our program, and 80% of the students increase their environmental literacy. 97% of the students surveyed plan to take stewardship actions beyond the classroom, which is the whole goal, right? To have them take care of the land and have a special kuleana to where they live. And students removed, and then some of the actions was we removed equivalent of 5 dumpsters of invasive plants, over 200 pounds of trash, planted 693 native plants, and on and on and on and on. So they're really getting experience in all different levels of the ridge to reef. I'll let Alyssa talk about this. We just got some testimony sent in.
Yeah, so we heard from the students and teachers about what this program meant to them. And some of my favorites are up here. So we had students tell us that some of their proudest achievements of the day were presenting their poster in front of all their peers and being able to confidently answer the questions that were asked of them, having that knowledge. And we also had a student say that they had a lot of fun helping to restore the land, getting out there in the field, pulling the weeds, planting the trees throughout the year. You know, that's what we want to see. We've increased the confidence in students' knowledge of their watershed and Ahupuaʻa in Hawaii and their presentation skills. And as one teacher put it, without the help of Malama Kai Foundation, coordinating the transportation, setting up the field studies, coordinating the partners and classroom activities, this program simply wouldn't happen. Teachers are very busy these days. You know, most of the time that they would be able to pick up the phone and get on the phone with a partner, usually they're teaching during that time. So having us be able to handle everything behind the scenes so that they can focus on their students really makes the difference for these teachers. But unfortunately, today we're facing some challenges. As many of you know, the funding landscape has been changed significantly over the past 6 months. So we're facing funding insecurities. The NOAA Bay and Watershed Education and Training Program, typically we apply for that around the beginning of the year. And unfortunately, the proposal submission was pulled 24 hours before it was due. So that funding opportunity is not currently available. And our award for 2024 is actually still pending to this day. So we're not sure if that's going to come through or not. So, there's some funding insecurity there. We're exploring other options, but I think this is where community resilience and the ability to pull together and support programs that really matter comes in. Other challenges that we face are the transportation barriers. Buses are really expensive, and getting them available when we need them can be difficult. And so that goes into, the funding insecurity. That's one of the major things that we need funding for is transportation. And without that funding, we won't be able to get those kids out into their watershed in Ahupuaʻa. So there's a need for continued support. And we also experience a lot of staff turnover at schools here in Hawaii. So that's a challenge for the program. But of course, the coordinators, that's where they come in, their familiarity with the program and ability to make everything happen behind the scenes really helps these teachers out, especially if they're new to the school or to the island. And like Kater had mentioned earlier, we'd really love to expand this program. Right now, we have our eyes focused on continuing to serve the students in schools that we have been, and finding a way to make that happen. But in the future, we'd love to expand, and we see the value of this program throughout the island. And there's a lot of needy schools out here that could benefit from this. So I have a call to action for you all today. If you are able and willing and feel called to, we really appreciate donations. It keeps this program going, and everything that happens behind the scenes, it gets those kids out into the land doing those projects and having those meaningful experiences. If you know of potential partners who would be willing to host us for stewardship activities or share their expertise with our students, we're always looking for new lessons, new topics, new partners to come engage with our students. And you can advocate on behalf of Malama Kai Foundation. You can call your representatives, you can talk to your community members and ask for these programs to continue to be funded and be a priority for our keiki. And you can also volunteer, reach out to us to see how you can help. We're always looking for extra hands and extra brains, and you never know what we have going on that you could be a part of. So mahalo for coming. Now would be the time for questions, but thank you all for coming. And if you would like some more information on the program, you can email us at ridge2reef@malamakaifoundation.org or visit our website, malamakaifoundation.org/ridge2reef. We do try to keep that content updated. And it was updated recently, so you can see what we did all over the last year. So thank you for coming.
Excellent, you guys.
Yay.